But as she was walking towards the center of the market square, the crowd parted. Standing in the middle of the road was an old woman, barefoot, wrapped in dusty, tattered cloth. Her name was Agatha, known to all as the Mad Woman of the market. No one knew where she came from. Agatha looked straight to Sandra. Her voice echoed like wind in a tomb, "The jewel that glitters without light shall rust. The mouth that mocks the wounded shall taste the dust. The crown worn in arrogance shall fall into the mud." For a moment, Sandra stared, then erupted in laughter. "Oh! Look at this! Has madness taken the form of prophecy now?" She raised her finger. "Tell me, Mad Woman, does this face look cursed to you?" She stepped over the beads, looked into Sandra's eyes and said, "You laugh today, daughter of Obiagelu. But the day is coming when your laughter will echo into your own silence." Eziala was a land bathed in gold and guarded by ancestral spirits. The people were proud, their traditions sacred, and their kings just. At the heart of this kingdom was the royal palace, a majestic structure of beauty and elegance, the pride of Eziala. There, in marble floors, scented with myrrh and lined with glasses and exotic chandeliers, lived Princess Sandra, the only child of King Obiagelu the Beloved and Queen Abigail the Wise. From the moment of her birth, the sky itself had rejoiced. Birds sang out of season. A double rainbow crowned the hills of Eziala. The priests declared her a star sent by the ancestors. But in private chambers, a hidden prophecy was whispered: "She will shine brightly, but her pride will cast a long shadow." Sandra was an image of divine beauty. Her skin glowed like honey under the sun. Her voice was as smooth as calabash wine. Her eyes, sharp, golden brown, and always watchful, seemed to look down on the world around her. She was taught the arts of the royals: dance, music, diplomacy, languages, and royal ethics. But where she excelled in skill, she faltered in spirit. Flattery became her daily meal. She basked in admiration and grew intoxicated with her own reflection. Mirrors became her companions, and when she walked the palace corridor, she exhumed royalty. The palace maids competed and fought to serve her and win her favor. And even elders bowed lower than tradition required just to honor her. Her behavior troubled the king and the queen, who sat often deliberating it. The queen as her mother would often speak with gentle concern: "My daughter, a river does not drink its own water. The crown is not for display, it is for burden." But Sandra would proudly stand and say, "Let those who have nothing carry burdens. I was born to be adored." As her coming-of-age ceremony approached, a sacred event when Eziala's heir is unveiled to the spirits and the people, preparations exploded across the kingdom. Drummers and dancers rehearsed tirelessly. Everybody in the kingdom was in a happy mood. And every villager knew a new era was about to begin. One evening, during a royal banquet, a storm brewed and clouds covered the sky. Thunder cracked overhead. Then, an unexpected visitor entered the royal court, Okioma, the palace astrologer and seer. He bowed low before the king and queen. His voice trembled. "O mighty king of Eziala, I beg your ear. The stars have shifted. A rare and dangerous alignment has appeared." The king leaned forward. "Speak." Okioma's eyes fluttered. "A test is coming for your daughter, born of spirit, cloaked in shadow. If she fails, the heavens will mourn. If she triumphs, nations will kneel." Queen Abigail gripped her husband's arm. But Sandra mockingly laughed. "Is the wind not allowed to blow any more? Must every shadow be feared like a snake?" Okioma looked at her with sadness. "My princess, some shadows were once angels, until pride brought them down." And with that, he left their presence. The market square of Eziala, known as Ikeziala, was the heartbeat of the kingdom. Every fourth day, it came alive with traders from neighboring villages, drummers announcing new arrivals, and children playing between baskets of farm produce. The air was thick with roasted corn and plantain, spices, and the voices of barter. On this particular market day, Princess Sandra announced she would grace the people with her presence. Her servants spent hours preparing her. Her arrival was like a festival. Traders stopped selling. The drummers struck their talking drums, "Daughter of Light, Jewel of Eziala." Children scrambled to see her. Women bowed. Men beat their chests. But as she was walking towards the center of the market square, the crowd parted. Standing in the middle of the road was an old woman, barefoot, wrapped in dusty, tattered cloth. Her matted hair reached her waist, and her eyes were like coals, black and burning. Her name was Agatha, known to all as the Mad Woman of the market. No one knew where she came from. Some whispered she was once a high priestess of Arni, cast out for revealing forbidden truths. Others claimed she was cursed for mocking a sacred masquerade. Children were warned not to stare at her too long, lest their tongues fall out. Agatha looked straight to Sandra. Her voice echoed like wind in a tomb, "The jewel that glitters without light shall rust. The mouth that mocks the wounded shall taste the dust. The crown worn in arrogance shall fall into the mud." The market fell silent. For a moment, Sandra stared, then erupted in laughter. "Oh! Look at this! Has madness taken the form of prophecy now?" She raised her finger. "Tell me, Mad Woman, does this face look cursed to you?" The crowd laughed nervously, unsure whether to join in. Then she tossed her beaded necklace at the woman's feet and said mockingly, "A gift from a star to a beggar." But Agatha didn't flinch. She stepped over the beads, looked into Sandra's eyes and said, "You laugh today, daughter of Obiajalu. But the day is coming when your laughter will echo into your own silence." Suddenly, a palm frond drifted from the cloudless sky and landed next to Sandra's feet. Every elder present gasped. A palm frond falling without wind was a bad omen. It meant a spiritual vow had been sealed. The people looked down. Even the traders grew uneasy. But Sandra waved it off. "Superstition and sand. Let us move." She walked away unconcerned. As she moved away, a chill filled the air. Then Agatha whispered after her, "Let the curse begin." The night after the market incident, the palace was quieter than usual. Servants tiptoed in the hallways and argued while the sudden calmness in the palace. The moon seemed to hide behind the clouds, as though watching in silence. Princess Sandra retired to her chambers, unconcerned, her laughter still echoing in her ears. As she undressed that night, one of her maids, little Chidinma, a girl barely 15, hesitated when she saw the princess's body. "My princess," she whispered, "your skin." Sandra looked surprised. Her flawless bronze skin had been covered with small pale patches, like water spots on fine silk. "What is this nonsense?" she snapped. "Maybe it's the scented oil," the young maid offered. But the next morning, the spots had spread. Her once glowing skin began to flake around her upper body. Her eyes, usually bright with arrogant fire, were dull with fatigue. She felt cold in the warmth of the sun. Still, she said nothing. On the day of her dress fitting for the coming-of-age ceremony, the royal tailor noticed her silence. She didn't comment on the cut of her wrapper or the shimmer of her blouse. During a ceremonial song rehearsal, she forgot the lyrics. Not once, but 3 times. Her voice cracked when she tried to sing the ancestral song. Her mood changed and she felt terrible in whatever she did that day. Whispers began to bloom in the palace like weeds in the garden. That night, she dreamed. In the dream she saw herself in her bedroom looking at a cracked mirror. The images she saw, multiple images of her, reflected not her beauty, but her aging face. Her skin was wrinkled, her teeth yellow, her hair like brittle straw. In the other, she saw herself looking like a mad woman. Then, the mirror cracked the more, sharply, violently. The sound echoed in her soul. When she woke up in the morning, her skin problems became worse. Then, King Obiajalu summoned the palace healers. They whispered incantations, mixed roots in clay pots, and bathed the princess in blessed water. But nothing worked. Her condition worsened. Then came the foreign priests, from faraway kingdoms. They arrived with herbs, oils, and chants. Each offered strange remedies. One burned incense that made her faint, another smeared clay on her face that left her skin red and raw. Yet no solution. Queen Abigail visited the shrine of the moon goddess with a heavy heart. With bruised knees she raised her hands in prayer and wept silently. At midnight, the royal council of elders gathered in the ancestral chamber of the palace. Only torches lit the faces of the elders. "This is not of the body," said Decay, one of the elders, his face glowing in the firelight. "This is a spiritual disease. The girl has offended the unseen ones. Her soul must journey to find her healing." The king resisted. "She is my daughter. She is royalty. She can't be banished." But amongst the elders was the high priest, who responded to the king. "Your Majesty, even the sons and daughters of kings can anger the gods. To protect the kingdom, she must leave the kingdom immediately." There was a lengthy argument, but at the end, the king nodded and permitted the request by the council to take Princess Sandra away. Under the cloak of darkness, an ambulance left the palace, bearing a figure covered in plain cloth. No guards, no jewels, no escort of honor, only a single driver and a priest to guide the way. The palace workers whispered when they saw the ambulance leave the palace. Some claimed it was the queen being taken to the hospital. Others said it might be one of the numerous workers in the palace. But it was Princess Sandra, stripped of her name, her title, and her pride. She was sent to Umuezi, a forgotten village on the edge of the spirit forest, where the living dared not to walk at odd hours. It was the village where the dead were said to whisper during the harmattan. There, she was given a small round mud hut, with grass roof, its floor hard as stone. Her neighbors avoided her. She was only visited by children who mocked and threw stone at her. When she walked in the village, elders crossed themselves. She was no longer Princess Sandra. They simply called her Ngozi, which meant blessing, though few believed she was one, because she was not blessed but cursed. The curse changed her entirely. Her beauty failed. She became ugly and looked totally different. She cried for 3 days, refused food, and never neared mirror again. She cursed the gods and lived in isolation. She even wandered the village at odd hours, hoping something would take her. But it was not death that found her, it was a young man named Emeka. Emeka, a village orphan boy, was raised by his grandmother, was a young man, with eyes like river stones and a quiet strength. He saw Ngozi when she first arrived. He noticed how people threw ash at her door. He saw the loneliness in her eyes. So he began to leave things at her doorstep, a bowl of roasted maize, a jar of palm oil, bunch of bananas, and even a single hibiscus flower. At first, she ignored them. Then, one evening, weak from hunger and heavier with shame, she opened the door and whispered, "Why are you doing this? I am ugly now. Dirty. Cursed." Emeka stood there, arms crossed. "Because, when I cry, the sky does not mock me, and neither will I mock you." He continued, "A tree is still a tree, whether it stands tall or bends in the storm. You are still a person." Those words watered something in her spirit. For the first time in weeks she felt loved and alive. And so began her slow, painful healing and transformation. Ngozi rose early before the sun and swept her compound every day. She fetched water from the stream alone, and gradually she got her life back, not as Princess Sandra but as Ngozi. Each morning, she followed Emeka and his grandmother Mama Yulo into the bush. At first, her feet blistered, her hands bled from thorns, and the heat made her dizzy. But over time, her skin hardened, her muscles firmed, and her steps grew confident. Mama Yulo did not smile much, but when she did, it meant something. She was a renowned herbalist, who was always in the bush collecting herbs. When she was not in the bush, she would be under the tree in front of her hurt, pounding herbs. She taught Ngozi the names of leaves, the sounds of healing roots, and the colors of poisonous flowers. A healer must be silent like the moon, she would say, and observant like a hawk. Ngozi listened. She had never listened so much in her life. She learned how to speak to the wind to know when the rain would fall, how to mix herbs that could cool a fever, and how to comfort a mother whose child could not stop crying. The people of Umuezi still whispered about her, still avoided her. But some began to notice how gentle her voice was now, how she no longer demanded, but offered, how her hands no longer waved like royalty, but worked like a servant. One evening, near the forest, Ngozi saw an old woman struggling to carry a basket of plantains. The woman did not recognize her. It was better that way. Ngozi ran to her, lifted the basket to her own head, and walked the woman home. That night, the woman told her neighbor. The next day, someone left food items at Ngozi's doorstep in thanks. Bit by bit, something shifted. Not in the village, but in her. It was during the harmattan, when the air was dry and the sky turned red at noon, that the forest called her. Ngozi had wandered deeper than usual, chasing a strange, colorful butterfly through the trees. Emeka had warned her never to cross the sacred stream, but the beauty of the butterfly pulled her forward. When she stepped over the stream, the world went silent. The trees seemed to breathe. The leaves whispered her name. Then, from behind a tree, stepped a woman, her skin ageless, her eyes full of galaxies. It was Agatha. Not dirty, not mad, but radiant in white robe. "I see you remember my face," Agatha said. Ngozi fell to her knees, trembling. "I did not come to laugh at you again, please," she whispered, ashamed. But Agatha lifted her chin. "Then stand, for you are no longer the one who mocked. You have walked the path of ashes. Now comes the path of fire." As she spoke, the forest melted, and Ngozi fell into a deep sleep and saw vision. She saw Eziala, not as it was, but as it would be if she failed. Fires consumed the palace. The people cried in hunger. Her father wept at an empty throne. She saw a dark figure wearing her crown, laughing. She screamed. Then she saw herself, standing in light, surrounded by people healed, children dancing, women singing her name, not in fear, but in gratitude. She opened her eyes. Agatha was gone. Only the wind remained, whispering, "You must give what you never gave, yourself." The next morning, Mama Yulo told her it was time. "You must journey to the river of reflection," she said, handing Ngozi a calabash filled with white chalk and bitter cola. "There, the spirits will ask who you are. You must answer without pride or fear." Ngozi set out before dawn, Emeka beside her. The road was long and strange. Birds that never sang in the village cried out. The trees bowed as if watching. When they reached the river, Emeka told her to walk into the river alone and face her fears. Immediately Ngozi stepped into the water. The water became calm and stayed still. She walked until it reached her waist. Then a voice boomed, not from the sky, but from within the river. "Who are you?" She answered, "I am Ngozi, the one once called Princess Sandra. I was prideful. I was vain. I mocked pain. But I have wept, I have served, and now I seek truth." The river trembled. She threw the calabash into the river, and the water turned gold and calmed down. The voice boomed again, "Go now, you are renewed and cleansed of your curse." When she stepped out, the flaking skin was totally gone. Her glow returned, but it was not the glow of vanity. It was the light of a healed soul. She completely regained her beauty back. A year had passed. In the kingdom of Eziala, sorrow sat in every hut. The king had remained unhappy since the day the princess was taken away. The queen spoke only in prayers to the gods by the shrine. Many believed the princess had died. Some concluded that the curse she had must have consumed her. Then one morning, a young woman arrived at the palace gates. Her face was calm, her eyes like dusk before rain. She wore simple clothes, carried no jewels. But she walked like someone with nothing to prove. The guards stopped her. "I seek audience with the king," she said. They laughed. "Princess Sandra." They called. "Why are you acting like a stranger? Welcome back home." "My name is Ngozi. May I speak with the king?" she requested. While the guards and Ngozi were arguing who she was, then there comes Queen Abigail returning home. She saw the young woman and quickly stepped down from the car and screamed, "My child! Princess Sandra is alive!" She ran to her and passionately hugged her. "Thank to the gods of our land. You returned home alive, my princess." The queen said. The elders and entire village turned to palace to see Princess Sandra, now Ngozi, returned, not with pride, but with humility. She knelt before her father and said, "I left as a jewel. I return as a daughter if you would still have me. I will right my wrongs." The king was emotional, but he kept his composure and did not allow tears to drop. "You are welcome, my daughter, the princess of Eziala Kingdom," he said. Word of Sandra's return spread like fire through dry grass. Some rejoiced. Others murmured. Then the king asked, "Where have you been?" "To the place where pride dies and truth is born," she answered. "Then get ready to be decorated as the next queen of this kingdom. The ceremony of coming of age will be fixed." The king held her hand. "No, father, I didn't return to be the queen, but only to serve Eziala, if she will have me," she said. A murmur went around the gathered villagers. This was not the girl they remembered. But one elder, the wisest of them all, stepped forward, Orgy, the storyteller of the stars. He looked into her eyes and nodded. "She has crossed the river of the Spritz. She is totally transformed now." That evening, a gathering was held at the great square. The villagers came and celebrated. They had enough to eat and drink. Sandra stepped forward and told her story, not in royal commands, but in whispers of truth. She spoke of hunger, exile, Emeka, Agatha, and the river of reflection. Children wept. Mothers bowed. Fathers nodded. She knelt in the dirt and said, "I am no longer Sandra, princess of good fortune. I am simply Ngozi, your sister, your daughter, your servant." And for the first time in Eziala's long history, the crowd erupted, not in praise of beauty, but in reverence for transformation. But just as peace returned, few days after the princess' return, a cry split the night. "Fire! Fire at the sacred shrine!" The sacred shrine of Eziala burned, the very place shrine where the ancient royal crown of Eziala ancestral queen was kept. Guards ran. Priests wailed. And from the smoke, a figure emerged wearing the ancient royal crown. Zoria. She was a distant cousin of the royal bloodline, bitter and overlooked. While Sandra had been away, Zoria had spread lies across, that she was the rightful heir, that the cursed one had fled forever. Now she stood in royal warrior regalia, while her warriors from a neighboring kingdom surrounded the palace. "I am Queen Zoria of Eziala," she shouted. "The throne cannot sit empty while curses dance in our air." A gasp echoed through the crowd. The king rose, trembling. "This is treason." But Zoria laughed. "No, it is survival. Eziala needs strength, not a weeping one from exile." Chaos erupted. Zoria's forces charged. Warriors of Eziala Kingdom defended the palace. They fought back. That night, Eziala faced not just a test of blood, but of soul. Then came a whisper from the river priestess herself, who appeared in the compound. "There is one law older than blood, a sacrifice that can wake the ancestors." She made some incantations and left. Suddenly, a great cry rose in the sky. The clouds parted. A beam of light shot from the sacred cave to the palace. Zoria screamed, "What magic is this?" Suddenly the crown her head disappeared and floated in the air. Her warriors dropped their weapons and they all ran and left the kingdom. There was jubilation in the kingdom. The people of Esiala celebrated the victory. Few days later the king appeared with Sandra at the village square. The king and the villagers pleaded with Sandra to accept her place of leadership and be crowned. But she said, "Let it rest on the altar of service. If I must lead, I will do so from the ground up." Only then did the crown mysteriously return to the palace. Years passed. She married Emeka, not because he was royal, but because he had taught her the meaning of compassion. Sandra became a queen, known to the kingdom as Queen Gozi. She ruled with wisdom and mercy. Mama Yulo became the royal herbalist. One day, a little girl asked her, "Are you the most beautiful queen in the world?" She said, "I am only beautiful when I remember to be kind." And on every market day, Queen Gozi walked through the stalls, not with fanfare, but with baskets, buying her own tomatoes, laughing with children, blessing the old. And with that, the curse was forgotten. But the story remained, told from lips to ears, generation to generation, of the princess who laughed at a mad woman, only to become the queen who listened to the whole world. And so, the princess who once mocked pain with pride became the queen who taught her kingdom compassion. Her curse was not just a punishment, it was a mirror, showing her the weight of every unkind word and the silence that follows when laughter turns cruel. But through humility, she found healing. Through service, she found strength. And through love, she earned her crown, not on her head, but in the hearts of her people. Let her story echo through time. Never mock what you do not understand. For the madwoman you laugh at today may be the spirit sent to shape your destiny tomorrow. This is not just a tale. It is a warning, a lesson, a gift, brought to you by African Tales by Divine, where every story awakens the soul. Please kindly drop your thoughts in the comment. Thank you for watching. Remain blessed.